The night sky above the alien world burned with fire and smoke. Huge torches lined the walls of the Deadliest Colosseum, their flames licking at the air, casting long shadows over thousands of alien faces. The stadium itself was carved from black stone, old and scarred, as if it had seen 1,000 battles before tonight. The roar of the crowd shook the ground like thunder. Every voice shouted for blood. Every throat cried out for death. At the very center of that vast circle stood one human. He was not armored. He was not armed. His wrists still carried chains, the broken ends rattling faintly whenever he moved. Dirt smeared his face and blood ran down from a cut on his forehead, yet his eyes did not break. They were calm, unshaken, like steel that had been through too many fires already. The Deadliest guards shoved him forward until he stood alone on the cracked arena floor. The human lifted his head slowly, letting his gaze move across the sea of alien faces, then up toward the throne that loomed high above. There sat the queen of the Deadliest Empire. Her body was tall and terrible, covered in scales that shimmered like metal under the firelight. Her crown was not delicate like those of human kings, but jagged, sharp like the horns of a predator. Her golden eyes burned with cruelty as she leaned forward, resting one claw on the arm of her throne. The entire Colosseum fell silent at her gesture. Even the fire seemed to dim. Her voice slithered across the arena, heavy and cold. Human. The single word echoed, carried by the power of her authority. You came into my empire and you spoke words of mercy. You destroyed my guards who sought to break you. You dared to look upon me without fear. The crowd hissed and jeered, their voices rising, feeding on her fury, but she silenced them again with one lifted claw. For this, she said, her voice cracking like a whip, you will not be given the mercy you begged for. Instead, you will be broken before all. You will be fed to my creation. A deep rumble passed through the ground. Dust drifted from the stone walls. Somewhere behind a giant iron gate, something stirred. The sound was not of chains, not of weapons, but of something alive, huge, breathing, heavy. The human turned his head, watching the gate as it began to rise. The chains squealed. The ground trembled. From the shadows beyond stepped the beast. It was larger than any creature he had ever seen. Its body built of thick muscle, covered in plates of armored hide. Its eyes glowed red, filled with hunger and violence. Its claws were the size of swords, and its fangs were like a wall of blades. The beast's roar shattered the silence, sending waves of fear through the crowd. Some of the smaller aliens covered their ears. Others shouted with joy, eager to see blood spill. The queen rose slightly from her throne, her mouth curling into a cruel smile. This is my pride, my greatest weapon, the unkillable beast. No warrior, no slave, no soldier has survived it. Your bones will be its feast. The creature stepped into the arena, each movement shaking the ground, each breath steaming into the night air like smoke. Its head lowered toward the human who stood alone and unarmed, and yet he did not move. No tremble ran through his legs. No scream left his throat. He stared at the beast with calm, steady eyes. It was not arrogance, not foolish pride. It was something else, something quiet but stronger than fear. The crowd waited for him to break. They waited for him to run, to scream, to beg. But the human did not. Instead, he whispered to himself, so soft it was almost lost beneath the monster's roar. I've dealt with worse than you. The words were not meant for the crowd, not even for the queen. They were for him alone. A reminder, a truth, for he carried scars not from beasts but from battles life had already forced him through. He had seen hunger. He had seen war. He had seen cruelty wear the face of kings and tyrants. And now here he was again, standing before another predator who thought herself untouchable. The beast roared again, shaking the very stones of the arena. Saliva flew from its jaws. The sound rattled the bones of every creature present. The chains on the human's wrists clinked softly as he clenched his fists, steady and unafraid. The queen leaned back on her throne, her smile widening. She believed she was watching a man about to die. To her, this was not punishment, it was entertainment. Her people needed to see fear. They needed to see the hopelessness of resistance. And what better way than to let her beast devour the only human who dared to stand against her? But the human. He stood like a rock against the storm, his back straight, his eyes calm, his breath steady. The alien crowd shouted louder, their voices blending into a wild storm of noise. Some screamed for blood. Some begged the beast to tear him apart slowly. Some simply waited, eager for the moment flesh would meet fangs. But no one in that arena, Not the soldiers, not the crowd, not even the queen herself, could see the strange stillness that had already settled between the human and the monster. The beast's eyes, glowing with hunger, met the man's eyes. For just a heartbeat it hesitated, and the human did not blink. The queen raised her claw again, signaling the trial had begun. The ground shook as the beast lowered itself to charge, the air alive with the promise of death. Yet the human did not move. He did not beg. He did not scream. He simply breathed in and waited. Because deep inside, he knew this was not the end. This was only the beginning. The great iron gate groaned as it opened wider, and the beast stepped into full view. Every step was like thunder rolling across the arena floor. The creature's claws dug deep into the black stone, carving marks that smoked with heat. Its chest rose and fell with heavy breaths, each exhale steaming in the cold night. The crowd erupted into wild cries. Thousands of voices, high and low, shrieked with a mix of fear and excitement. Some shouted blessings to their queen. Others cursed the human, already imagining his bones scattered across the sand. But the human did not move. He stood in the middle of the arena, chains dangling from his wrists, and watched calmly as the beast drew closer. His heart beat steady. His eyes never left the creature. The weight of thousands of alien eyes pressing down on him did not shake his soul. He had faced death before. He had faced cruelty before. Fear had no claws left to sink into him. The queen of the Vailith leaned forward on her throne, her sharp smile widening. "You are not brave, human," she hissed across the arena. "You are foolish. That thing was born in darkness. Raised with pain, it knows only hunger and rage. Do you think your soft human heart will stop it?" The human said nothing. He simply tilted his head, studying the beast. It was a terrifying sight. Its skin was covered in jagged plates of dark armor, broken only where muscle bulged thick beneath. Its head was massive, shaped like a hammer with two glowing eyes that burned red in the torchlight. Fangs longer than a man's arm glistened with saliva. Every part of its body screamed death, violence, and destruction. And yet, there was something else in its eyes. Something faint. Something the queen and her people had never noticed, or perhaps had never cared to notice. Beneath the glow of fury, there was confusion. The human saw it. And that was enough. The beast roared again, the sound deafening. The air itself seemed to crack apart under its voice. Dust rained down from the high stone walls. Even the strongest alien soldiers flinched, their weapons trembling in their hands. But the human only closed his eyes for a moment, letting the roar wash over him like a wave. When he opened them again, he breathed out slowly and spoke. "Sit." The word was soft, but it carried. The arena was shaped for sound to travel, and though the human had not shouted, the single command reached the ears of everyone present. At first, the crowd laughed. The sound rippled across the seats, cruel and mocking. The queen herself let out a hiss of amusement. "Commanding my beast with one word? You are mad," but then the impossible happened. The monster froze mid-step. Its massive claw hung above the ground. Its head tilted slightly, almost like a dog hearing its master's voice. The growl in its throat softened to a confused rumble. And then, before thousands of witnesses, the unkillable beast lowered itself down and sat. The laughter stopped. Silence fell like a heavy blanket over the Colosseum. The crowd stared in shock, unable to breathe, unable to believe what their eyes told them. The only sound was the low hum of the beast's breath and the faint clinking of the human's chains as he lowered his arms. The queen's smile disappeared. Her claws tightened on her throne until the black stone cracked beneath her grip. "What trick is this?" she spat. The human finally spoke again, his voice calm and steady. "No trick. He just needed someone to talk to him, not shout at him. You tried to control him with fear, but fear only chains the body. It never reaches the heart." The beast let out a deep rumble, almost like a sigh. Its glowing eyes, once burning with rage, now followed the human with something different. Curiosity, even recognition. The crowd whispered. Some muttered words like sorcery, others impossible, but more than one alien voice spoke a word their empire had forgotten long ago. Respect. The queen's rage burned brighter. Her pride, her power, her throne, it all rested on the terror her beast inspired. If the creature could be tamed, if the human could do in seconds what she had failed to do in years, then everything she had built was a lie. She rose to her full height, her scales shining with fury. "You belong to me," she roared at the monster. Obey me? But the beast didn't even look at her. Its eyes stayed locked on the human. The human took one small step forward. His chains dragged behind him, scratching against the stone. Slowly, carefully, he lifted his hand. The entire crowd held its breath. The soldiers gripped their weapons, expecting the beast to strike. Even the queen leaned forward, waiting to see blood. But the beast did not attack. It lowered its head, meeting the human's hand. The touch was gentle, trembling at first, then steady. The monster let out a sound, half growl, half sigh, that echoed with something deeper than rage. It sounded almost like relief. The arena gasped. Thousands of voices rose, but none dared to cheer or laugh. This was not entertainment anymore. This was something else, something sacred. The queen's golden eyes burned with hate. "You dare steal what is mine?" She spat. "That beast is a weapon. It has no soul. It was made for war." The human's voice was soft, but it carried across the arena like thunder. "Then maybe you never looked close enough." The monster leaned against his hand, its eyes glowing softer as if it had been waiting all its life for a gentle touch. And in that moment, before all of Valeth, the human did not look like a prisoner anymore. He did not look like prey. He looked like something more. He looked like hope. The air in the arena was thick, almost vibrating with tension. The crowd could hardly breathe. Every alien in the stands leaned forward, trying to see more clearly. Their eyes widened in disbelief. They had been promised carnage, terror, a display of the beast's unstoppable power, and instead, they saw something they could not comprehend. The human stood in the center of the arena, chains dangling from his wrists. His stance was calm, almost casual, yet it radiated strength. Beside him, the massive beast, the so-called unkillable creation of the queen, sat on its haunches, its glowing eyes fixed on him with a strange reverence. The ground still trembled slightly under its weight, but it made no move to attack. It was as if all the rage and violence it had been bred for had been tamed by one simple word. One human word. The queen's golden eyes narrowed, her mind racing. "Impossible," she hissed. "It should obey me. I raised it, I fed it. I taught it war. Nothing can resist me." Her voice shook, not with anger alone, but with fear. For the first time she realized that the creature she thought unbreakable, the weapon she thought untouchable, had chosen someone else. The human's voice broke the tense silence. Calm, low, and unwavering, he said, "It's not about chains or fear. You can force obedience, but you cannot force trust. You never tried to understand him. You never tried to listen. That is why he will not obey you. But he will listen to me." The crowd murmured, the sound spreading like ripples over water. Some aliens whispered to each other, their words trembling with disbelief. A human, controlling the unkillable beast. By speaking softly, many thought it was magic. Some thought it was impossible. But all of them in that moment felt something unfamiliar. Awe. The beast's massive head lowered slightly, brushing the human's extended hand with its snout. Its breath was hot and foul, but instead of fear, the human felt a strange warmth. The sound it made, a low rumble vibrating from deep in its chest, was no longer a threat. It was a greeting. It was acknowledgement. The queen's fury intensified. She lifted her claw and shouted at the human, "You dare! You dare speak to my creation? It is mine. It owes me obedience. You are nothing." The human did not flinch. He tilted his head, meeting her gaze. "Obedience is not owed. It is given. You have never understood that. Fear is not loyalty. Power is not respect. I speak to him because I see him. You never did." The arena seemed to hold its breath. Even the soldiers froze mid-step. Even the crowd, thousands of voices strong, went silent, held in the grip of something new, something that none of them had ever felt. The beast rumbled again, a deep vibration that shook the air. Then, astonishingly, it rose to its full height. Its massive limbs flexed, but it did not charge. It did not attack. Instead, it moved slowly toward the human, its glowing eyes softening with each step. When it reached him, it lowered its head, letting him place a hand upon its armored hide. A shock ran through the crowd. Some of the older Valeth whispered the words their ancestors had once feared to speak. "This is respect." The human closed his eyes for a brief moment, feeling the heat and weight of the creature's body. His mind was clear, his heart steady. He could feel the life in the beast, its strength, its rage, its history of pain, and he could also feel its choice. The choice to stop fighting, the choice to trust, the choice to follow. The queen shrieked, a sound full of rage and disbelief. You cannot do this. I am the queen. My will is law. That creature belongs to me. The human opened his eyes and spoke softly, deliberately. No, it never belonged to you. You think control is ownership. You think fear is loyalty. But the heart cannot be commanded. Only the mind can bend to reason, and only the soul can choose its master. You never taught him respect. You never gave him trust, I do, and that is why he listens to me. The crowd was silent now, entirely captivated. They had witnessed countless executions, countless battles, countless demonstrations of power, but none like this. None that showed such control without violence, such authority without cruelty. Some of the younger aliens blinked, realizing that perhaps humans were more than flesh and bone. Perhaps humans were something dangerous, not because of their strength, but because of their understanding. The beast, massive and terrifying, pressed its massive head against the human's chest. The sound it made, part growl, part sigh, shook the air. The man gently stroked the armored scales, speaking softly in words that only he and the creature could understand. It was a language older than war. It was a language of trust. The queen's scales bristled with fury. Her claws scraped the arm of her throne until the black stone cracked beneath her grip. She realized, with mounting horror, that she had been outmatched not by weapon or strength, but by empathy, by patience, by something she had never valued. You think you are strong because you fight, she hissed. But strength without fear is meaningless. Obedience is power. The human looked up, his eyes unwavering, his voice steady and clear. Power without understanding is empty. Fear without respect is meaningless. You cannot see it because you have never tried. I can speak to him because I listen. I can see him because I do not demand. And that is why he listens to me. For the first time, the queen felt the full weight of her failure. Her unkillable beast, the creature that had devoured soldiers, that had survived battles against armies, that had crushed the hopes of every challenger, was no longer hers. It had chosen another. The crowd held its breath. Even the soldiers, trained to kill without hesitation, watched in awe. The human and the beast stood together side by side, and something unspoken passed between them. It was not just obedience. It was trust, loyalty, respect. Something deeper than fear. Something the queen could never understand. The human reached up, patting the beast gently. The creature rumbled again, leaning into the touch. The sound echoed through the Colosseum, carrying a strange beauty. Even the alien spectators, accustomed to violence and cruelty, felt a shiver of awe. And in that moment, the human did not look like a captive. He did not look like prey. He looked like a master, not of fear, but of something far more powerful. He looked like hope. The queen's golden eyes narrowed. Rage burned through her, but she realized she could do nothing. Her orders, her chains, her throne, all of it meant nothing against the quiet authority of the human standing before her, and the beast sitting obediently at his side. The arena had changed. The queen had changed. The crowd had changed. And in the middle of it all, the human remained calm, unshaken and impossibly, unimaginably in control. For the first time in her long, cruel life, the Queen of Velith understood one terrifying truth. Sometimes, the smallest creatures carry the greatest power, and the human's power was not in his fists nor in his weapons, nor in his chains, it was in his heart. The arena was filled with a tension that seemed almost alive. The alien crowd could hardly move. Their eyes darted between the human and the beast, unsure if they were witnessing strength or sorcery, courage or madness. Some of the younger Velith whispered nervously to each other, trying to comprehend what they were seeing. A human, standing alone, commanding the unkillable beast. With nothing but calm, the human stood quietly, letting the chains on his wrists clink softly with each slight movement. He did not rush. He did not shout. He did not threaten. Instead, he breathed steadily, watching the massive creature that had been bred for destruction. Its red eyes glowed faintly in the firelight, no longer full of rage but still alive with curiosity. He took a slow step forward, dragging the chains behind him. The beast did not move back. Its massive head tilted, watching him carefully as though measuring every step, every intention. The crowd leaned closer, straining to see. Even the queen atop her throne could not look away. Her sharp golden eyes burned with fury and disbelief. You dare to come closer? She hissed, her voice trembling slightly. That beast is mine. It obeys only me. The human lifted his hand slowly, palm open, and spoke softly to the creature. It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to see you. The words carried no threat. They carried no command. They carried understanding, and the beast paused, its massive chest rising and falling, its tail twitching nervously on the ground. For the first time it seemed unsure. The creature had been trained to obey fear and violence, but never gentleness, never patience, never respect. The human inched closer, one careful step at a time. His eyes never left the beast's glowing gaze. Slowly he reached out his hand and touched the creature's armored hide. It was warm, rough, scarred from years of battles, yet beneath the surface the human felt life, trembling, powerful, alive. The beast let out a low, rumbling sound, almost a sigh. The human smiled faintly, murmuring, I know. I see you. You're not a weapon. You're not just anger and claws. You're more than what they made you to be. The alien crowd was silent. Even the guards held their breath. They had seen many things, but never this. The unkillable beast, the terror of an empire, was being treated with care by a human it could have easily crushed. And the human was not afraid. The queen shrieked from her throne, her voice cutting like steel. Stop this! That creature belongs to me. Attack him! Soldiers raised their weapons, rushing forward in perfect formation. The arena shook with the sound of armored steps. Dust fell from the walls. The crowd erupted with cheers and screams. Some hoped the human would die. Some feared for his life. Some watched in awe, unable to look away. The human did not move. Instead, he placed both hands on the beast's massive head. His voice was calm, soft, unshakable. Sit, don't fight. You don't need to hurt anyone unless you choose. Just stay with me. The beast rumbled deeply, a sound that shook the air, and then obeyed. It lowered itself to sit once more, its enormous bulk pressing against the ground like a living mountain. The soldiers stopped mid-charge. Weapons shook in their hands. Even the queen's fury faltered as her monster, her greatest weapon, ignored her completely. The human stroked the beast's hide, speaking quietly as though they shared a secret only they could understand. You've been alone too long. They never listened to you. They never cared about what you felt. I will. The alien soldiers hesitated. The crowd stared, silent now, captivated. The human did not command through fear, but through presence. He did not demand obedience. He offered choice. And the beast responded. The queen's golden eyes burned with disbelief and fury. Her claws scraped her throne. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. She realized with growing horror that the very weapon she had prided herself on, trained for decades, fed with battle, made to be unstoppable, had chosen someone else, someone she considered weak, someone she considered fragile. The human stepped fully into the space beside the creature. His chains dragged on the stone, but he did not flinch. He looked up at the queen, calm, unafraid, and said softly, You built him with fear. You chained him with rage. But you never knew him. You never listened. You never tried. The beast pressed its massive head closer to the human, its glowing eyes flicking to him again and again. The crowd whispered, unable to comprehend what was happening. It was no longer a spectacle of violence. It had become something entirely different. A bond, forged in a heartbeat stronger than any chain, more powerful than any command. The human's calmness radiated outward, filling the arena with an invisible strength. The alien soldiers, unsure what to do, lowered their weapons slightly. The queen, trembling, realized that fear alone could not force control here. Respect, understanding, and trust had accomplished what threats could not. The human looked at the beast and smiled faintly. You don't need to attack. You don't need to fight. I see you. I hear you, and that is enough. The beast rumbled softly, leaning into the human's touch. Its massive form shifted slightly, the movement gentle, almost tender. And in that subtle gesture, the crowd understood something impossible. The unkillable beast was not just tamed, it had chosen a friend. The queen's fury burned hotter, but she was powerless. Her creation, her pride, her weapon had abandoned her authority in favor of a human who spoke with patience and care. She realized that the very thing she thought would break him, the beast, was now the very thing proving his strength. The arena was silent. Every alien heart, every eye, every breath seemed to hold still. The human and the beast stood side by side, calm in the center. a force that required no chains, no weapons, no blood. The human had done what no Vaylith had ever done. He had bridged the gap between predator and prey, between fear and respect. And in that moment, the human did not look like a captive. He did not look like prey. He did not even look human, in the sense that the crowd understood humans to be weak. He looked powerful, not through violence but through understanding, not through chains but through connection. The queen, for the first time in her long life, realized she had been defeated, not by strength, not by cunning, but by something she could not grasp: empathy, patience, and trust. The human whispered again to the beast, his voice soft and steady. "It's okay. I've got you. You're safe now. You don't need to fight unless you choose. You can trust me." The monster rumbled in response, leaning fully into the human's touch. And for the first time, the arena understood the truth of what they were seeing. Power was not in fear. Power was not in chains. Power was in the bond that could not be broken, the trust that could not be commanded, the respect that could not be demanded. The human looked up at the queen one last time, calm and unafraid, and said softly, "You see now, fear is easy. Understanding, that is real strength." And the arena shivered with awe. The silence in the arena did not last long. The queen's fury burned brighter than the torches that lined the walls. Her golden eyes blazed, her scales bristling with anger. "Enough!" she screamed, her voice echoing like a hammer across the stone. "Do not think this human's tricks can survive the real test. Soldiers, attack! Kill him! Kill the human and reclaim what is mine." The ground trembled as hundreds of Vaylith soldiers surged forward. They were clad in dark armor, blades glinting in the firelight, weapons raised with practiced precision. Their shouts filled the arena, a war chant meant to break the human spirit. Dust rose with their steps, and the air vibrated with the sound of approaching death. The human did not flinch. Chains clinked softly around his wrists, but his eyes stayed calm, unbroken, steady like the eye of a storm. He raised one hand, not to fight, but as if to say, "Wait." The beast beside him shifted, massive claws pressing into the stone. Its eyes glowed faintly red, and its breath steamed in the cold air. Every muscle in its body was coiled, ready to strike, yet it did not move until the human spoke. His voice was low, controlled, unshakable. "Stay. Protect, but do not harm unless necessary." The beast rumbled, deep and powerful, acknowledging the command. Its tail lashed once, sending a small wave of dust across the arena. It had been bred for destruction, trained to kill, fed on battle, but it understood restraint, because the human had given it a choice. The soldiers reached striking distance. Thousands of eyes watched, expecting carnage, yet the human remained still. He did not shout, he did not panic, he did not attempt to flee. He simply took a slow step forward, chains dragging behind him. The beast moved as one with him, stepping protectively in front. When a soldier swung a massive blade, the beast deflected it with a single precise swipe of its claw. Stone cracked.
Sparks flew.
The human spoke again softly. "Easy. Don't destroy unless you must." The soldier stumbled backward, wide-eyed. He had expected a mindless monster, an unstoppable killing machine. Instead, he saw something extraordinary, a creature of unmatched strength, controlled with gentle words and calm intent. Every strike of the beast protected, every roar restrained, every movement careful and purposeful. The queen shrieked from her throne. Her claws scraped the stone. "This is impossible! Obey me! You belong to me, creature! Kill him!" The beast did not even glance at her. Its loyalty had shifted, its choice made. It was no longer a weapon of fear, it was a guardian, a protector, and the protector's charge was clear: the human. The human raised his hand again, placing a palm gently on the beast's massive head. "Good, protect, don't hurt more than necessary. Show them who we are." The soldiers hesitated. Some dropped their weapons. Some whispered among themselves. Even the crowd, long accustomed to violence and death, was silent. They had never seen such control, such authority, such understanding between two beings, one human, one monster. Then the battle began in earnest. The beast moved, each strike precise, calculated. Soldiers who came too close were sent tumbling back, but none were killed. The human moved among them, guiding the beast's massive body with words, gestures, and calm intent. He was small compared to the monster, yet he controlled the storm that surrounded him. The queen's anger was uncontrollable. Her screams pierced the arena. "You dare defy me? You dare use my creation against me. Kill him! But the soldiers could not follow her orders. The human and the beast were synchronized as if they shared one mind. Every advance of the soldiers was met with careful resistance. No blood spilled unnecessarily. No lives were taken without reason. Yet the human's presence radiated power so intense that even the Queen's soldiers felt it. The crowd began to murmur. Whispers turned into shouts, not of fear but of awe. "Look, he controls it," one alien said. "He is not afraid," another shouted. Some older soldiers shook their heads in disbelief. "Impossible, human. He does not fight like a human." The Queen's fury turned to panic. Her throne shook as she leaned forward, claws scraping the stone. She realized that her prized weapon, her unkillable creation, had chosen someone else entirely. Her control over the arena, over the soldiers, over the crowd, all of it was slipping. The human spoke softly to the beast, words almost lost under the chaos. "They will not stop unless they see. Let them see who we are. Let them see strength without fear. Let them see control without cruelty." The beast obeyed. Its massive body moved in perfect harmony with the human's guidance. Soldiers swung their blades, charged, shouted, but every attempt was met with restraint. Every strike was precise. Every motion was protection, not destruction. The crowd watched in awe as the impossible unfolded. The human, small and fragile in appearance, stood at the center, commanding a creature that could have destroyed them all, and yet he did not command it through fear. He commanded it through understanding, patience, and trust. The Queen's golden eyes burned with hatred and disbelief. She realized that fear, the weapon she had wielded her entire life, was powerless here. Authority, intimidation, and rage meant nothing against the bond forged in trust and respect. The human stepped closer to the beast, placing both hands on its armored hide. "You are not just a weapon," he whispered. "You are strong. You are alive. You can choose. And I choose to stand with you as a friend, not a master." The beast rumbled low, leaning into the human's touch. The crowd, soldiers, and even the Queen all watched silently, captivated by the impossible bond. What they were seeing was not a battle, not a fight, but a demonstration of strength unlike any other. Strength that came from connection, not fear. The Queen's fury reached its peak. Her claws tore at her throne, shards of black stone falling to the floor. She screamed a command, but no one obeyed. The human and the beast moved as one, calm, controlled, unstoppable, not in violence, but in presence. And in that moment, the arena understood a new truth. Power was not measured by fear or destruction. Power was measured by the courage to stand, the wisdom to guide, and the heart to protect. The human's eyes met the Queen's one final time. Calm, steady, unbroken. He did not speak, but his presence alone told her everything. Her weapon was gone. Her control was gone. Her fear would no longer rule here. The beast leaned against him, massive head resting near the human's shoulder, letting out a soft, low rumble. And the crowd, silent until that moment, began to whisper and murmur. Awe, respect, and disbelief filled the arena. The impossible had happened. The human had not only survived, he had changed everything. And in that instant, the human did not look like a prisoner. He did not look like prey. He looked like a master, not of fear, but of trust. Not of chains, but of choice. Not of violence, but of strength. The arena trembled with the weight of tension. The Queen's fury had reached a dangerous peak. Her golden eyes blazed like molten fire, and her claws scraped the throne until the black stone cracked beneath them. Every muscle in her body radiated rage. She had unleashed her unkillable beast, expecting it to tear the human apart, to crush him beneath its strength, to prove once and for all that the human was weak, fragile, powerless. But none of that had happened. Instead, the human stood calmly in the center of the arena, chains dangling from his wrists unshaken. Beside him, the beast, massive, terrifying, unstoppable, sat obediently, its glowing eyes fixed on him. The human did not command through fear. He did not shout. He did not strike. He simply was. And that presence alone radiated authority far stronger than any blade or roar. The Queen's fury turned to panic. She realized the horrifying truth. The beast had chosen someone else entirely. Her weapon, her pride, her unkillable creation no longer obeyed her. Its loyalty had shifted. Its trust had been given. And there was nothing she could do to take it back. "You dare," she hissed, her voice trembling with rage. You dare steal what is mine? That beast belongs to me. Kill him! Kill the human! Her soldiers hesitated. They had been trained to obey, to fight without question. But now, seeing the human and the beast, their courage faltered. The human's calmness, his confidence, the bond he shared with the monster, it was impossible to ignore. Some soldiers glanced at each other uncertainly. Some whispered, almost afraid to speak aloud, "He controls it." Without violence, the human did not move. He took a slow, deliberate step closer to the beast, chains dragging softly on the stone floor. He raised his hand and laid it gently on the creature's massive head. His voice was soft but carried through the arena. "You do not need to hurt anyone unless you choose. You can defend, yes, but not destroy. I am here, I see you. You can trust me." The beast's glowing eyes flicked to him, and a low rumble rolled from deep in its chest. It shifted slightly, leaning closer to the human, pressing its massive body against him protectively. Every muscle in its body was alive with strength, but every movement was measured, controlled, restrained. The soldiers hesitated. One by one, their weapons lowered slightly. They had been trained to fear the beast, trained to follow the queen's commands without question. But the human and the beast had changed everything. Fear alone could no longer force obedience. Respect, trust, and connection had become the true power. The queen's fury intensified, but so did her desperation. "You are nothing!" she screamed at the human. "You are a fragile creature of flesh. How can you command what I could not? How can you tame the unkillable? You will die!" The human lifted his head, looking directly at her. His calmness was unwavering. His voice, soft yet full of strength, reached every corner of the arena. "Because you rule through fear. Fear binds, but it also breaks. You never tried to understand him. You never tried to listen. You only demanded, and that is why he does not obey you. But I do not demand. I offer trust. I offer respect. And he chooses me." The beast rumbled again, leaning fully into the human's touch. It lowered its massive head almost in reverence. The crowd was silent, unable to speak, unable to look away. They had never seen such a thing. The so-called unkillable. The terror of an empire kneeling willingly, listening, choosing. The queen's panic grew. She stood, her scales bristling, wings fluttering. Her claws scraped the throne until it groaned. "You cannot have him. That beast will destroy you. I am the queen, obey me." But the soldiers in the crowd saw the truth. Even the queen's voice, filled with authority, was powerless. The human and the beast were one. Their connection was undeniable. Their bond radiated strength that no command, no threat, no fury could break. The human spoke again to the creature, quietly, gently. "It's okay. You don't have to fight. You can choose. You can protect but not destroy. You can stand with me or no one. And I will be here no matter what you decide." The beast rumbled softly, a sound of understanding. Its massive claws dug into the stone, not in attack but in acknowledgement. The human's presence was enough. His calm, his trust, his unwavering heart. It had done what fear never could. It had won the allegiance of the unkillable. The queen's face twisted in disbelief. She realized that her empire, her control, her life's work, all of it was crumbling before her eyes. The creature she had built to be the ultimate weapon, the ultimate tool of terror, had chosen someone else entirely. A human. The human looked up at her calmly. "You think strength is in fear. You think loyalty comes from chains, but it does not. You cannot command what chooses its own path. You cannot rule what trusts only those who understand it. You built him for war. I build him for trust. And that is why he listens to me." The arena held its breath. The soldiers stopped advancing. The crowd stared in awe. Even some of the older Vaylith, who had seen countless battles, whispered in disbelief. "This human, he controls it with nothing but words. With presence. With heart." The beast rumbled again, and this time it shifted fully to stand beside the human. Massive bulk pressed protectively against him. Its glowing eyes scanned the crowd, its massive head tilted as if assessing every threat. Its loyalty was clear. Its choice was made. The queen screamed in frustration, rage, and disbelief. She realized finally that her power was nothing compared to the bond she had never understood. The human did not just survive. He had changed everything. He had taken the unkillable beast, and with patience, understanding, and heart, turned it into a protector, a companion, a force that could not be commanded by fear. And the arena, the soldiers, the crowd, the queen herself, all of it fell silent. stunned by what they had witnessed. The human placed a hand gently on the beast's massive head and whispered, "We are together now. We stand as one. No one can take that from us. You can choose, always." The beast rumbled, a sound vibrating through the stone floor. Its eyes softened. Its massive body, capable of crushing armies, remained calm, obedient but not to fear, to trust, to connection. And the queen realized in that moment that she had lost, not to strength, not to war, not to skill, but to something far more powerful. Heart. The human did not look like a prisoner. He did not look like prey. He did not even look like a human in the way the crowd understood. He looked like a master, not of violence, but of trust. Not of chains, but of choice. Not of fear, but of strength that came from the heart. And in that instant, the unkillable beast had truly found its master, and the human had truly found his protector. The arena was silent. Even the torches seemed to dim, as if the very fire had paused to witness what was happening. The human stood at the center, chains dangling, face calm and steady. Beside him, the unkillable beast, massive, terrifying, yet calm, pressed close, a living wall of strength and trust. The queen's golden eyes burned with fury. Her claws scraped the throne and her wings fluttered angrily. "This cannot be," she hissed. "That beast belongs to me. You cannot take it. You cannot—" The human stepped forward, ignoring her. His gaze was calm, unwavering. His voice, soft but full of power, carried through the arena. "It does not belong to you. It never did. Fear does not create loyalty. Rage does not create trust. I do not demand obedience. I offer understanding. That is why he stands with me and no one else." The queen shrieked, but even her soldiers paused, unsure whether to obey her or step back. They had trained their whole lives to fear, to fight, to obey. But now they saw something impossible. A human commanding the unkillable with nothing but heart, patience, and respect. The human turned to the beast. He placed a hand on its massive head, feeling the warmth, the power, the life within. "You are free to choose," he whispered. "You can protect, you can defend, but you can never be forced. And I will always be here no matter what you choose." The beast rumbled, a deep vibration that shook the stone floor. Its glowing eyes softened. It nudged the human gently, leaning into him like a friend, like a companion, like a partner. The soldiers stepped back. The crowd gasped. The queen's voice faltered, her rage and authority crumbling under the impossible bond unfolding before her eyes. For the first time, the queen realized she was powerless. Her greatest weapon, her pride, her empire's fearsome force, had rejected her control. She had ruled with chains, threats, and cruelty, but all of it meant nothing here. The human had triumphed not with strength, but with heart. The human looked around the arena, his eyes meeting the faces of thousands. He did not raise a weapon. He did not shout. He simply raised his hand, a gesture of calm authority. Slowly, the soldiers lowered their weapons. Slowly, the crowd fell silent, realizing that the human and the beast were no longer threats. They were something greater, something inspiring, something extraordinary. The queen's golden eyes flashed with desperation. "You cannot leave! You cannot take him! That beast is mine!" The human shook his head, gentle but firm. "He is not yours. He never was. And we will leave together. You cannot control what chooses its own path." The unkillable beast shifted beside him, massive claws digging into the stone, its breath steaming in the cold night air. It rumbled once more, almost as if agreeing, almost as if confirming the human's words. It had chosen. It had chosen to stand with the human. The arena was quiet, awed, and electrified with something that could not be named. Respect, wonder, awe, something the Vailith had not felt in centuries, if ever. The human, small in comparison to the massive beast, had achieved the impossible. He had tamed the untamable. He had stood where countless others had fallen. He had changed the course of an empire with calm, presence, and heart. The queen sank back onto her throne, her claws scratching uselessly at the stone. Rage, pride, and disbelief twisted her face. She realized that she had lost, not in battle, not in war, not by strength, but by understanding, by connection, by seeing and being seen. The human took a deep breath, letting the moment sink in. Then, without fear, he turned toward the arena gate. The massive doors loomed before him, iron and stone, threatening and foreboding. The beast followed, its massive body moving with a grace that belied its size, every step controlled, every movement deliberate. The human spoke softly, almost to himself, almost to the beast. "It's time." "Let's go." The beast rumbled in response, stepping through the gate with him. Dust and stone crumbled under their massive weight, yet no one dared stop them. The Queen's soldiers watched, powerless, awed, unsure whether to cheer, weep, or tremble. As the human and the beast moved into the night, the arena seemed smaller, quieter, diminished. What had been a place of blood, fear, and cruelty was now a place of wonder, a testament to something more powerful than chains or claws. Trust, courage, and understanding. The human's eyes scanned the horizon. This world was alien, dangerous, and vast. But he did not falter. He did not fear. He had survived the unkillable, tamed the impossible, and proven that the heart could triumph where strength failed. The beast walked beside him, massive, terrifying, and loyal. It did not obey because it was commanded. It obeyed because it had chosen, because it had seen understanding, kindness, and courage, because it had found someone who saw it for more than just a weapon, more than just a predator, more than just a tool. The human smiled faintly, feeling the warmth of the beast beside him. "We'll face whatever comes next," he whispered. Together. And together they walked away from the arena, away from the Queen, away from fear. The night embraced them, shadows stretching behind them, but they did not falter. They did not look back. The impossible had been done. The unkillable had been tamed. The human had proven that courage, empathy, and heart could overcome even the greatest of challenges. In the stands, the crowd was silent, still unable to fully comprehend what had happened. Whispers spread through the thousands of aliens present. A human stood against the unkillable, and won with nothing but heart. Some of the younger soldiers looked at each other in awe, a spark of inspiration lighting in their eyes. For the first time, they saw that strength was not just in claws, fangs, or weapons. It could be in understanding. In calm, in courage, the Queen remained on her throne. Fury and disbelief etched into every scale. She had ruled with fear for her entire life, and now she had been shown the truth. Power that rules by fear is fragile. Power that inspires respect, loyalty, and trust is unstoppable. The human and the beast disappeared into the night, leaving behind a legend that would spread across the empire for generations. The story of the human who tamed the unkillable, who stood unshaken before an entire empire, who commanded respect without violence, would be remembered as proof that courage and heart could surpass even the deadliest weapon. And in that moment, the human did not look like a prisoner. He did not look like prey. He did not even look like a mere human. He looked like a hero. The unkillable beast, once feared by all, now walked beside him not as a weapon but as a companion, a protector, a friend. Together they vanished into the night, leaving behind a world forever changed by the quiet, unyielding power of courage, trust, and heart.